Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Drive at 5 here on 92.9 The Ticket, brought to you by Heroes Sports Grill and Entertainment Center. Heroes is the official sports grill of the Drive and the place to be in downtown Bangor, and at heroesportsgrill.com. Have we had any remotes from there? We're supposed to start doing the summer remotes.
We have not yet, no. I think those are coming up soon now that we're on the other side of the fourth.
All right, good to know. Also brought to you by Next Home Experience. Next Home is the market leader. Get looped and get sold with Next Home Experience. The voice you just heard right there, Rich Keefe, talking about Celtics ownership and front office and whether or not you trust them. I do trust Brad Stevens. I do not trust Bill Chisholm. I am still going to give him some level of benefit of time before I decide how I feel about him, but certainly trust is earned, and he has not done that yet, but I would not specifically say that I sincerely do not trust him.
I don't know. I might be maybe not willing to jump on that point right now, but certainly closer to it than you are, because I'll play this soundbite again that we played in the first hour of him explaining that money was no factor here, and when he has the opportunity to show Celtic fans that he means business, he'll show them he means business. You've had the opportunity. You had the opportunity to hold on to Jaylen Brown, and you felt it so necessary to trade him in order to reshape your team and reimagine how you go about attacking the cap.
Yeah, I think he's saying going forward. And again, listen, like the window is small for me. Like 2 years from now, and I know that sounds like a long time, but it's not in the grand scheme of things. If he hasn't made moves and has avoided moves that suggest it's financial, I'll be the first one to criticize. But right now I look at it and I think they tried to get Giannis, so clearly they were okay with financially spending a lot of money and taking bold risks that were going to cost them. Like, clearly that's the case. They just didn't feel like the Jaylen Brown thing was working out, and I get it. I don't know if I agree with it. In fact, I don't agree with the return for sure, but I at least see the vision of what they're trying to do, and I at least see, like, okay, they thought that Jaylen Brown wasn't worth the money he was being paid. They feel like they have to spread the wealth over the entire roster. Now that they've done that, now I want to see them actually follow through and spread that wealth around. And, of course, they're not going to do it this year, you wouldn't think, because Paul George. But going forward, like, the window is pretty small for him to put up or shut up.
And I know that Wick had backed them into a very financially uncomfortable corner when they took over the organization. That
unsustainable corner.
That on top of the fact that they had to pay the richest price tag in NBA history for a franchise at $6.1 billion, an amount that we have since learned that Bill Chisholm did not have on his own to front, and he had to dive into private equity and everything else to make up from. But you had Jaylen Brown, you are getting cheaper in the sense that Paul George is probably just a 1 year, and then you can move him next year, even when he opts into his player option, because at that point it's expiring money. But this is the second offseason that Bill Chisholm has owned the team, and for the second consecutive offseason, they have done nothing but move money off the books.
Yeah, but again, I don't know if you can look at last year that way, because you had to. Like the Porzingis and the Holiday deals, we were excited and happy about those deals, so I don't think we can now backtrack and say, well, that was just pure salary shedding. Like, they actually got pieces. Now, they turned the pieces into Nikola Vucevic, which sucked. Like, that didn't work out. But they went out and they got Anthony Simons, and they got pieces for those guys who were aging past their prime, and it was clear that financially they weren't worth the investment anymore.
And I get all that. Just don't tell me it's not about the money as you're making moves to get more financially flexible and make the money easier on you and lessen the burden that the money is. Because it is about the money right now. You're choosing not to spend that money for the promise of spending future money. We have seen this road too many times, this movie too many times with the Boston Red Sox. We have traveled down it for the last decade. Call me a little jaded from that or a little burnt, and therefore I'm viewing this differently and maybe with a bit more aggression than I should. But I've been lied to for the last decade.
You're cynical. I get it.
Money is coming. The spending is coming when it's only lining John Henry's pocket. I think Bill Chisholm and John Henry are cut from the same cloth.
The difference that I see right now is that the Celtics still have their Theo Epstein running the show as the GM.
They do. How long, though?
If Brad Stevens were to leave tomorrow, I have no trust in Bill Chisholm. Like, I'm with you 100%. But with Brad Stevens still there, I give him a modicum of respect and a modicum of trust and say, if they were that bad and it was that adamant that they had to cut salary, I don't think Brad Stevens would still be there. The fact that he is, and the fact that he was standing in front of the media yesterday and felt to me genuinely like he thought he made the best move for the team's future, that gives me a little bit more comfort and a little bit more trust in Bill Chisholm that he will put the money where his mouth is when the time arises and Brad says we need to do this. And again, I think the Giannis thing again proves that. Now, if I'm Brad Stevens, I probably would have made that move in retrospect, and I think Brad may end up regretting not pushing harder for that move and doing more to make that move. But as long as Brad is there for the time being, I'm going to give them a sliver of trust that they may or may not deserve. If it was like the Red Sox situation, I don't have any trust in them anymore because the GM, whatever position you want to call it, president of baseball operations, has just become so... It's the pinky finger of the ownership that I can't trust any of it anymore. I can still feel that way about the Celtics, though. So
today's drive poll is asking, which team do you trust to put the pursuit of a championship above money, above all else? The Patriots are now the popular pick with about 75% of the vote. How quickly that pendulum swings.
Sure.
About 20% still giving it to the Boston Celtics, probably solely for the argument that you're making because Brad Stevens is still the guy making the moves.
Yeah.
Do you still trust the Celtics as the team to go for it the most, or has that moved away from them now? Because I don't know that I can say Bill Chisholm in this ownership group is the most motivated to win immediately.
Yeah, you saying so this upcoming season, is that...
Currently, like which team do you have the most faith in?
Well, so currently could be 1 year, could be 5 years. If you give me 5 years, I would probably still pick the Celtics. If you give me 1 year... Yeah, I mean, I think the Patriots just made a move for A.J. Brown. They're starting to reinvest in the product in the time frame that they have to do so before they have to give giant deals to Drake May and
how about that? We just
Christian
traded
Gonzalez.
One disgruntled Brown for another Brown that became disgruntled. We kind of made him disgruntled.
The Browns are all just gruntled. Actually, no, it wouldn't be. It's disgruntled.
No, he's
gruntled is happy.
I would imagine.
I don't know,
based
but
on
right.
The etymology.
Yeah, right. Oh, look at you.
Etymology. Study of words, yeah.
Yeah, well done.
I got a vocabulary. I just choose not to use it on this show.
Yeah, that was...
I'm the anti-Stephen A. Smith.
Nicely done. So you're saying 80% of people think... Yeah, if you're looking at this upcoming season, I think you have to say that the Patriots are the one team that are clearly going for it. The Bruins aren't. Celtics aren't. Red Sox certainly aren't. So, I mean, to vote for anyone other than the Patriots, I think would be crazy. A 5-year timeline, I think I would probably lean Celtics still.
I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt that you are.
Yeah.
They've kind of lost that benefit in my eyes.
Brad Stevens is the Jenga piece that holds it all together for me. Boy, if
that is a swaying tower.
If that piece comes out of that tower, I'm going to kick the table so hard it will collapse it for sure. But if he's still there, he's done enough right for me to believe that he has a vision and a plan, and he will execute that vision and the plan, and that they'll have the finances to do it at that time. And if he didn't believe that, I don't think he would be there right now. And maybe he won't be. Maybe a week from now he leaves. And I'm like, oh crap, I was wrong. I'll admit it. Brought to you by Acadia Federal Credit Union, their newest location now open on Wilson Street in Brewer, serving Maine since 1963 with branches in Bangor, Brewer, and Aroostook County. Learn more at acadiafcu.org. Also brought to you by Uno Pizzeria and Grill, where they have late night deals every night in the bar or lounge, 9 p.m. to close. $6 apps, $5 cheeseburgers, $5 indie deep dish or pepperoni pizzas at 725 Stillwater Avenue in Bangor. Don't forget $1 tall Coors Light when Team USA is in action. Well,
yep.
Sorry to burst your bubble on that one.
Yeah, that's not happening anymore.
Nope. Maybe they'll adopt another team. I have a friend that texted me that said he's adopting Norway.
Well, get on it.
So, I don't know.
Who knows if you're listening?
How many teams are left?
Somewhere between 8 and 16.
Well, I know that. Is the number at this point like 10, 12?
I couldn't tell you.
I feel like it's got to be close to 10 because there's a game going on right now, right?
Let me see if the round of 16 is still active tomorrow, and then that will certainly answer one. And it is not. So It appears we're down to the final spot in the quarterfinals right now, Switzerland and Colombia.
There's 9 teams left.
Yeah.
Is what you're telling me. Switzerland the favorite there?
Yep. Yes. Okay. Actually, no. Colombia might have been the slight favorite, minus 155 going in.
And France is the heavy favorite to win it all.
Oh, yes? God, yeah.
Yeah. By I couldn't name a single. Mbappe, is he a player for them?
Yep. He's the engine that drives them, one of the best players in the world. I mean, Spain's a pretty hefty favorite as well, although they had to squeak by Portugal yesterday.
And Ronaldo was out. Portugal was out.
Ronaldo got knocked out yesterday.
Yeah, because that's one of the few names that I know. I know Mbappe, I know...
Messi is still there.
Okay.
Had a penalty save today, but then
and he's
scored.
on Argentina.
That he is.
You should keep grilling me. Keep throwing names out there.
Well, I think we've gone through all the ones that you know.
Okay.
We got Mbappe, we got Messi, we got Ronaldo.
So I got false confidence right now.
Who is the Norway striker? Big hulking dude, blonde hair.
Haaland.
There you go.
I only know that because my friend texted me, go Haaland. That was his name, Haaland. And so I just assumed.
Yeah, that's one of his 3 names.
Oh, okay. He's got 3 total names. Doesn't mean he's a serial killer?
Yeah, could be.
Because most of them are.
Kind of looks like one.
Oh, okay.
There's not a lot happening behind those eyes.
All right, throw one more at me. One more player name.
Give us any player from Switzerland and Colombia, the match that's happening right now. Drive at 5 continues next.
It is time for Sox Props, brought to you by Novus Auto Glass. Call on Novus Auto Glass today at 945-6688 to get your windshield repaired or replaced. Wife just got a new car about a week and a half ago, and we were out in Lincoln over the weekend, and my dad was riding in the front seat, and he points to the windshield, and he goes, is that a chip? And it looked like it was like one of those big...
That's not good.
Well, it wasn't. Luckily, it was sap, like clear sap from a tree.
That's a little better than that.
Like she's trying to desperately wash it off the windshield, and it's not going anywhere. The spray is spraying all over everything, hit me in the face, and then we kind of went over, she touched it, and she was like, oh, no, it's sticky. We're good.
A little better than a chunk taken out.
But if we hadn't, we would have called Novus Auto Glass. Also brought to you by Casella. Good pay, good people, good life. Find your place at powerofhardwork.com. It is time for Sox Props, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook. And
3-game win streak, 8 of the last 10. Only excited. 8 games under 500. Hey, as Tom Osborne came across the hall and told us before the show, we got to be rooting for the other Chicago team as well, because the Red Sox might find their way out of the basement if they can beat the White Sox and the Cubbies can beat the Orioles.
I feel like if they get within like a couple games of that wild card mark, I can see the wheels turning in your head of like the scrappy underdog.
No, because this lineup, like there's nothing, absolutely nothing, unless they go on a 2-month stretch where they churn out 5 or more runs on a nightly basis, there's nothing that will get me to believe in this lineup.
Okay. All right, so pitching matchup today, Peyton Tolley, Noah Schultz, as you said. Strikeouts 6+ for Tolley, -120. Noah Schultz 5+, -127. Outs recorded over under 16.5 for Tolley, 14.5 for Schultz. None of those scream.
Did they let us do walks on Caesars? Because Peyton's been
pitcher walks.
He's been struggling.
Under. Yeah, they both are at over under 1.5.
I would take the over on Tolley and feel pretty good about it.
Okay.
He's been a bit of a nibbler his last couple outings.
And that is actually +101. So
look at us making money tonight.
All right.
Unless we lose.
Well, so I'm going to let you pick it because I'm looking. Whenever we do this, I always I'm in the studio. I put my money where my mouth is. I put the bet down. And I have lost.
Peyton Tolley, last 4 starts, 3 walks, 2 walks, 2 walks, 2 walks.
Okay. I have lost, 1. So I have lost 1, 2,
Peyton
3,
Tolley
4,
this year,
5,
13 starts, 5 times he has walked 1 or fewer, 8 times he has walked 2 or more. We're hitting that tonight.
I have been wrong on the last 8 Sox props that I actually put money down on. Now, sometimes I forget to do it, but so I'm gonna go with what you say because I clearly cannot be trusted right now. So that's what it is. Over 1.5 walks.
Put it on the board.
For Peyton Tolley. Put it on the board. Brought to you by Goslin's Bakery, 334 Harlow Street in Bangor. Grab a breakfast sandwich on an English muffin or croissant, plus legendary donuts and pastries made since 1945. Or visit the new Goslin's Bakery in Delhi next to Hannaford in Brewer. And we're brought to you by Dairy Queen of Bangor. With the new DQ breakfast collection, you can enjoy a Cinnamon Toast Crunch dipped cone, Fruity Pebbles shake, or Choco Frosted Donut Blizzard treat. Whether it's breakfast time or not, visit 668 Broadway, Bangor. DQ, happy, tastes good, and I'm always happy when I have ice cream. That is a fact. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, John Karalis of Sports Illustrated. Welcome back to The Drive here on 92.9 The Ticket. We are brought to you by McDelivery through Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub. 2 sausage McMuffins with egg, 2 hotcakes, 4 hash browns, 4 Small hog coffee is all for just $19.99. The bundle deal, 40% off for a limited time. Order at your local family-owned McDonald's on Main Street, Union Street in Bangor, or on Wilson Street in Brewer. I probably should clarify that we will not be coming with the Uber Eats or DoorDash. I said we are brought to you by, and we will not be brought
on
to
how desperate we get.
We will not be brought to your door along with the hash browns. You get the hash browns. It's a good enough deal as is. You don't need us involved in it. Plus, I would just eat your hash browns. So, you don't want that. All right, let's go to our Heroes Hotline one last time today to check in with John Karalis of Sports Illustrated and the Locked On Celtics pod. And I would echo what we just heard right there from Brad Stevens, John, and that you asked a tremendous follow-up. I was hoping to hear during the press conference a follow-up to your follow-up, which was simply you also pursued Giannis Antetokounmpo pretty aggressively. He would have taken up a big chunk of your salary cap, 70% hypothetically, plus you would have, I imagine, extended him beyond the next season. So ultimately, it feels like they thought Jaylen Brown was not worth teaming up with Jason Tatum to be 70% of the salary cap, but a Giannis-type character would. Is that accurate in your assessment or in my assessment to say that?
I feel like that's pretty close to what the reality is. Yeah. I think that the Celtics have determined that Jaylen coming back, when the usage part is a very important element to what Brad said. Bringing in two guys or having two guys at 70% of the cap at that usage didn't make sense for them. And I think these two guys at their usage was going to be a problem. Now, Giannis at his usage, a little bit easier to handle because Giannis is a top 5 player when he's healthy. And none of my objections to Giannis were anything to do with his play, all to do with his level of health. So I think what the Celtics are willing to do is invest in those kinds of players, but only if you're going to spend that kind of money, those guys have to be top 5 players. And Jaylen is, he had an incredible season, but he's not going to be a top 5 player, especially when Jason, Derek, and, internal improvement from Ugo and Baylor, those guys need touches. All of the things factor into that decision, and ultimately the Celtics deciding that money for Jaylen Brown wasn't going to be optimally spent.
Optionality was the buzzword coming out of that press conference yesterday, and
12 times.
Yeah, I am just curious, what is the optionality for the Celtics for 26-27 to get the roster back to where it was at the end of last season? Because I feel like a lot of fans feel like they've gotten worse with this move.
So the optionality in 26-27 is to sit back and enjoy this show because this is going to be the team that you're getting. So not much optionality as far as this team is concerned this season. What it does is it opens up a trade moving forward of Paul George. So I think Paul George is here for 1 year at most, maybe less. We'll see but that depends on other factors around the league. But I don't expect him to be here for more than a season. I think the Celtics will take they'll take his contract into next summer as a centerpiece of a bigger trade. They'll use those picks to entice people. They might use some of their younger players that they weren't willing to give up to try to get that next guy. I think their hope would be to find a guy that isn't on a 35% max, and maybe you can do it that way and save some money. But if you are finding a guy who's on the super max, that you're finding a guy that is a first team all NBA type player. And the side effect of that is once you get that guy in here, in 3 years, we're having this conversation about Jason Tatum.
Oh boy. That's probably something that Celtic fans don't want to think about. And another thing that just popped into my head listening to your answers, John, like at this time last year, Jason Tatum's coming off the Achilles injuries. Large portions of the fan base, according to what I was seeing online and reading from people around the team, were advocating for them to maybe rip the Band-Aid off, take the step back, use Tatum's injury as the excuse to try to take one step back for two forward in the future. Is that what Brad Stevens is doing now? It just happens to come a year later and with a healthy Jaylen Brown that makes it so confusing?
I think that's kind of what's happening here. And part of the problem is they needed Jaylen to be the number one guy to get his value up. And I don't think the market for Jaylen was exactly what the Celtics thought it was going to be. And I think that's part of the problem here. But they couldn't do this with Jaylen last season because no one would have thought he could have been a number one guy. They needed him to be the number one guy and prove that he could be, to even have any traction this season on that salary, which keeps increasing, getting out of here. And so I think they may have heard the calls. I don't think those calls were necessarily wrong, but to get maximum value, and I'm not going to say they got maximum value, but to give themselves a chance to get maximum value, they had to take it into this year.
Yeah, it feels pretty clear at this point that is probably the biggest shock of all of this, is not that they traded Jaylen Brown, which kind of felt inevitable at points before and after Giannis, if you want to look at it that way, but that the value of Jaylen Brown in Celtics fans' eyes, and perhaps in the Celtics front office, and the value of Jaylen Brown to other NBA teams and other NBA front offices, it was like the Grand Canyon. Like, it was a pretty massive chasm between the two. Why were the Celtics and Celtics fans so wrong in this?
Well, I think the problem is, and I'm not going to blame Celtics fans for this, but it is the reality. You don't understand the CBA. And that, I think that is a big problem now, because the CBA is a dominant feature in a lot of what's happening around the NBA. It's a bigger deal than fans realize. And you shouldn't realize that, right? You're a fan. You don't need to know all of this, internal, legal, salary mumbo jumbo. You just want to know who's on my team. If you traded a player, are we getting any better? But the reality is that the salary, the CBA is the most dominant feature of the NBA right now. And it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's ripping teams apart. It's moving players around, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But the goal is to get most teams out of the 30. They probably want 26 teams in this kind of middle ground of where the Celtics are, hard capped at the first apron, trying to make moves with one star player and then trying to piece things around and have all the talent spread out around the league. And then on the extremes, two teams that are pushing the second apron, trying to be great, two teams at the bottom, kind of right at the salary floor, trying to rebuild, and everyone else kind of in that middle. And that's why things are going this way. That's why Brad Stevens felt the need to trade Jaylen Brown at all. You've got to be clear. If the situation was there, if Jaylen was making $40 million, he'd be a Celtic. And if he was making $40 million and the Celtics still decided to trade him, the market for him would be greater. So there's a lot of cap minutia. The increases weren't what the league, I think, thought they were. I think the Celtics thought that they would have more wiggle room. The TV deal was supposed to give so much money to this league that the salary cap was supposed to increase by 10% each season for the next, for like 3, 4, 5 years, and it hasn't. So the Celtics accounting for 70% of the cap, that shouldn't have been the case this year. It probably should have been like 60, because the cap was increasing at a super high rate. Because that hasn't happened, I think that impacted where the Celtics ended up going with Jaylen Brown. But that's why fans just want to go on the trade machine and be like, I want my team to be better. And if you're trading Jaylen Brown, you're looking for equal player value, and when the Celtics couldn't get that on the market, they had to flip to, all right, whose contract's up in a couple of seasons that we could turn around and shop as an expiring next summer.
We're talking with John Karalis on the Heroes Hotline. Bill Chisholm has probably heard a lot of green arrows whizzing in his direction since this trade and since he and Brad were speaking yesterday. Based on conversations you have, your knowledge of the inner workings of this team, should Celtic fans give him the benefit of the doubt that he's not trying to, sell off assets and strip down the parts for, kind of the way that John Henry has with the Red Sox? Because that has me a little anxious.
Yeah, listen, I understand that. I think this is like correlation versus causation type of thing. I understand completely. He comes in, you have Porzingis gone, Holiday gone, Jaylen Brown now gone, all of these, Anthony Simons gone. These guys you're getting under the tax. People like me are writing about how important it is to get under the tax. And people are like on the outside, you look at all those things and say, oh, what? Of course it is. It is John Henry. I truly believe that if Wick Grossbeck was still the primary owner, that these things would still happen. If Steve Pagliuca had won the bidding, these things would still happen. Because the CBA is so punitive that this repeater tax, you're paying quadruple at least what the regular tax is for a player. Like right now, as of this moment, the Celtics are about $1 million or so over the luxury tax, which is not a problem. They can get under that easily. But their tax bill would be somewhere in the 10 million range. It's a ridiculous number. So business-wise, just from a business team building perspective, you kind of have to operate like if you can stay under the tax, which the Celtics can, you should. So next year, when you theoretically trade Paul George, that you can start using all the tools, your mid-levels and this and that, and you don't have to worry about the tax. You're paying a normal tax rate next year, and so the team isn't so infinitely expensive. So, listen, I know I'm speaking directly to the person listening, like in a car or whatever. I know that this is stupid, what I'm saying. It sounds stupid. It sounds annoying, but this is the reality of the situation. This is what this new CBA is doing, and they have to navigate this. They have to navigate this the right way, because what Brad is trying to do is set this team up to try to stay in contention for longer than the CBA is intending teams to stay in contention. And I think he has a plan to do that. It's a painful plan because guys are going to be shuffled in and out. Like I said before, like Jason Tatum going out in 4 years is probably part of this plan, but the goal is to then keep shuffling in other stars to keep the Celtics in that top 2, 3, 4 and give them a chance. The CBA wants the Celtics to sell everybody off, start at the bottom, and build up through the draft again. And I think that's the alternative that Brad sees and is trying to avoid.
So I wanted to touch on something you talked about earlier before we let you go, John. And you've talked a lot about the CBA, of course, and how the finances didn't really maybe go to what the Celtics thought, and a lot of that was because of the TV deals that maybe didn't materialize at the rate the NBA thought that they would. And that leads me to a question, which is about the regular season of the NBA against the postseason of the NBA. And we asked Justin Turpin of WEI this in the first hour, a similar question. It feels to me like the reality of the NBA in the regular season is that the ratings aren't there because the product, frankly, is kind of crap. It's just not as good. Postseason basketball is still incredible to watch. I love it. The drama is real. Regular season feels like players going through the motions if they're playing at all. And then ultimately, as we've seen time and time again lately, like home court advantage doesn't really matter much. Teams that can be 6, 7, 8 seeds, if they have the talent, can all of a sudden go to the finals, can win the finals. Does the NBA have a pretty serious regular season problem that's creating a ratings problem that is then creating a CBA problem?
So I think first of all, I think the CBA problem that I'm talking about is largely to do with regional sports networks dying off. there's a lot of regional sports network money that is just going away. I think that's part of the problem. I think the ratings, I don't know, like the league will tell you that all the things that you laid out should make the ratings better because everybody has a chance every single night. Now, I think the problem with the regular season is so many games, guys like resting and, all of that stuff. I do think that there's an issue with the regular season and the viewability that they do need to work on. Shortening the regular season could probably help. The way the game is officiated during the regular season versus the playoffs is a different story. I think that changes things. So I think there's more work for the league to do. You also hear so often that like certain losses don't matter, and they don't in the long run. You just need to get to certain spots in the playoffs. So I think something, and this is what the in-season tournament is kind of like supposed to do, even though I think it's ridiculous. It's supposed to make the regular season matter and have people care more. So I agree that the regular season needs to be fixed to some degree. But I don't think those ratings are impacting the CBA as much as the regional sports network stuff is.
Well, John, thank you so much for taking the time and kind of explaining the ins and outs of all this. And I'll be happy to never hear the term optionality or CBA for the next week.
Yeah, good. Then you're not talking to me. That's for sure.
Next time we talk to you, we'll have new topics and all kinds of exciting things to talk about.
All right, gentlemen. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you as well, John. John Karalis of Sports Illustrated and the Locked On Celtics podcast. We'll take a break. Buzzer beaters up next on The Drive. All right, my buzzer beater comes from Scotland, where a man was charged with assault after he allegedly assaulted someone with what, Mark?
Haggis.
No. Try again. It was a meat.
Really? Sheep's liver,
no.
which I think is just haggis again.
Live meat.
Live meat. So the meat is still alive.
Something you would not eat, I don't think.
Otter.
That's no.
You're going to have to tell me.
Seagulls. Not one, but two. He had two seagulls.
Trained?
Nope. He just found them on the side of the road and managed to grab not one, but both of them, which is kind of shocking. And then he used them to attack someone near a railway station there in Oban, Scotland.
Oban, Scotland. Always wanted to go there. Looks like a nice little town after my heart. A sleepy, rainy little coastal town.
Well,
you got to admire the man's ingenuity there.
I want to know, like, was he swinging them like by the neck? Was he like using their beaks as like little pokers? Like how does that benefit you as opposed to just say a fist?
My buzzer beater is realizing this newfound power that I have to just blackmail the other co-hosts of this show at any time, because now
I was rubbing
you've got
my
a
nose.
camera in front of your face.
Yeah.
I control what that camera cuts and records. Man, I could make you guys look some type of way.
Yeah, from the angle it's at me, it looked like I was picking my nose here a moment ago when I was trying to itch my nose.
Like it
was a very Seinfeldian moment, let me tell you. So you can put that out there into the interwebs now, Mark.
Drive blooper reel coming at the end of the year.